If we have log to base 4 of 16, what this is asking is 4 raised to what power is going to equal 16? Well, 4 to the second power is 4 times 4, which would give me the 16. So log to base 4 of 16 is 2. So this is your exponent. This is your base. And this is the answer. So let's say that I have log to base 2 of x squared plus 3x equals 2. I want to change this back to exponential form. So my base is 2. It's raised to the second power, and it's going to be equal to x squared plus 3x. Expanding this over here, 2 squared is 4. And now what I want to do is I want to put this in quadratic form set equal to 0 because I want to know for what x values this is true. So then I subtract 4 from both sides. And then I get x squared plus 3x minus 4 equals 0. And now we're not done. We need to know what x values this is true for, so I'm going to have to factor this. So I'm going to get x and x. And I need two numbers that are going to multiply to minus 4, which means one's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. And it looks like the bigger one is going to be positive. So once factored, I'm going to have x equals minus 4 and x equals 1. So our next practice problem, this is log to base x this time. So I want to change this into exponential form. Log to base x of 2x squared minus 9x plus 14 equals 2. So that's saying x squared equals 2x squared minus 9x plus 14. I'm going to move this x squared to the other side. So subtracting x squared from both sides, I get 0 equals x squared minus 9x plus 14. Now I want to factor this to see what values of x this statement is true. So I need two numbers that multiply to 14. So my factors are 1 and 14, 2 and 7. And I see 2 and 7 works. That'll give me a 9. I see the signs have to be the same, and they both have to be negative. So I have x and x. And then I have minus 2 and minus 7. Setting these equal to 0, I get x equals 2 and x equals 7. Talking about this over here cannot be a negative number. And if you think about why, let's say that I have x, let's change this to exponential form. So if I have x squared equals 5x minus 6, there is no number when I square it that is going to give me a negative number. So whatever x values I come up with must make this entire expression be a positive expression, because squaring a number can't give me a negative value. So let's continue on with this one. So I now want to move the 5x minus 6 to the other side, which gives me x squared minus 5x plus 6. And now I want to factor that. So I need an x and an x. The signs have to be the same, and they're both going to be negative. So I'm going to put a minus and a minus here. And two numbers that will multiply to 6 but add to 5 would be 2 and 3. Setting these equal to 0, I have x minus 2 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. So I have x equals 2 and x equals 3. Now in both of these instances, when I put the 2 in here, I get 5 times 2 is 10 minus 6. That's positive. And then if I put the 3 in here, I have 5 times 3 is 15 minus 6. That's also positive. And here we see that our base is not just an x or just an integer. What I have is an algebra expression. So this is saying x plus 3 squared equals 3x squared plus 1. So this here can be expanded to be x plus 3 times x plus 3, which would give me x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 3x squared plus 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract this entire expression from this side. So on the left, I'm just going to have 0. And then this is going to give me 2x squared minus 6x minus 8. So I now see on the right side, I can factor out a 2 from each term, or what I'm going to do here is just divide both sides by 2. So that's going to give me 0 equals, and then I'm going to get x squared minus 3x minus 4. Now let's factor that. That's going to give me an x and an x. I know that the signs are different, so one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative, and the bigger one is going to be negative. So I'm going to have minus 4 and plus 1. So that's going to give me x equals minus 1 and x equals 4. I'm running out of ideas on how to make them a little uglier, so let's take this and write it in exponential form. So I have minus 2x minus 2 raised to the second power equals 3x squared plus 3x minus 2. I now want to expand this. So I have minus 2x minus 2 times minus 2x minus 2 equals 3x squared plus 3x minus 2. Expanding this, I'm going to have minus 2x times minus 2x is 4x squared. Then I have minus 2x times minus 2 two times. That's minus 8x. Plus 8x. And then finally, minus 2 times minus 2 is plus 4 equals 3x squared plus 3x minus 2. Now I want to move everything to one side to set my quadratic equal to 0. So I'm going to have 4x squared minus 3x squared. That's just x squared. Then I have 8x, positive 8x minus 3x is plus 5x. And then I have plus 4 minus 2 is plus 6. And since I moved all that to the other side, this side, I'm subtracting the same thing from over here. So this whole thing would be 0 pairs. And then I'm going to factor this. So I'm going to get x and x. And then I need two numbers that are going to multiply to 6 and they're going to add to 5. So they're both going to be positive. So that would be 2 and 3. And setting these equal to 0, I'm going to have x equals minus 2 and x equals minus 3. So on this example, I'll give you the opportunity to pause the video and then you can check your answer against mine. So try this one on your own. First, I'm going to change this to exponential form. So this is going to be 4 squared equals 3x squared plus 9x plus 4. Now what I want to do is I want to square the 4, so this side would become 16. And then I want to subtract 16 from both sides. Which is going to give me 0 equals 3x squared plus 9x minus 12. And then I can divide both sides by 3 because each of these terms is divisible by 3. And when I do that, I get 0 equals x squared plus 3x minus 4. And then I want to factor that. So when I do so, I'm going to have an x and an x. And I need two numbers that multiply to a negative and add to a positive. So the signs are going to be different. And the two numbers are going to be plus 4 and minus 1. Setting these equal to 0, I'm going to get x equals 1 and x equals minus 4. And those are our answers.